Welcome. This is World Religions, more specifically Religions 102. My name is Andrea Scardina and I'm your instructor for this course. In this first lecture, we're going to go over the course, the goals for the course, and the big questions we'll ask and try and answer in the course, and do some introductions as well. My goals for you for this course are pretty broad, really. It's a pretty large subject matter to talk about religion, to talk about world religions. There are hundreds, probably even thousands of religions in the world, and we're only going to have a chance to go over about 10 or 11. 10 or 11 seems like a lot, but really it's a drop in the bucket. My goals for you in this course is that as we go through each religion, you'll be able to learn enough about it, the fundamentals of each religion, Hinduism, Buddhism, Jainism. This is a test now. Hinduism, Jainism, Buddhism, Taoism and Confucianism, Shinto, Zoroastrianism, Christianity, Judaism, Islam. As we go through each one, you will learn the fundamentals of them and be able to talk about each religion. My hope is that as you encounter these religions in your life, whether it be on the news, when you're talking to other people, at a party with a coworker, you'll have some background in it. You'll be able to have a richer conversation with other people and educate other people about each of these religions. I've had students tell me that one particular student, for example, worked with an Indian man for a couple of years, and then he took this course, he learned a little bit about Hinduism, and he struck up a conversation with his coworker about this religion, a conversation he would have never have had with them otherwise. And his coworker was so excited that someone knew something about Hinduism, he invited my student over to his house and showed him his Hindu altar, and they formed a more meaningful relationship than they would have otherwise. My other goal for you is to be able to understand ideas and worldviews that are completely different than your own. We're going to encounter all sorts of different ideas in this class, and I don't expect you to accept any of them as your own. I don't expect anyone to convert based upon this course to any other religion, but I do hope that you come to understand different points of view and to respect them. We live in a world that is increasingly small. We live in a world that is full of conflicts that are based upon all sorts of cultural misunderstandings and differences in ideology. And the first step to solving those sorts of problems are to step back and to learn to understand people other than ourselves. My goals for you in this course, they're not small goals, but the students I have had in the past have really enjoyed this class. I'm very proud of that, and I hope that you get a lot out of this class. Goals for today, specifically just for this lecture and this lesson, is just to give some introductions. I'll introduce myself, we'll introduce the class a little bit more and world religions, and then in the discussion today you'll have a chance to introduce yourselves. So me. As I mentioned, my name is Andrea Scardina. I live here in Champaign, Illinois, with my husband of 2 years. Depending upon when you're watching this lecture, it's been 2 years since we've been married. My husband is a psychology student at the University of Illinois. I myself have a Master's of Arts in Religious Studies from the University of Chicago. My focus in my research at the University of Chicago was in early Christian studies, which is to say the first 3 centuries of Christian history, and how Christianity started from a very small little cult and became the culture and the religion of the Roman Empire. We'll have a chance to talk about that ourselves in this course later on this semester. I love history very much. You're going to find in this course, in each unit, we're going to talk a lot about the history of each religion. I think it's really important to take time to learn about how things came to be the way they are today. Where did each religion come from, and why did they develop the way they did? So I imbue a lot of history into my courses. Before the Master's of Arts, I got a Bachelor of Arts in Asian Studies from the University of Puget Sound. This was many years ago. I graduated from UPS in 2003, so it's been some time. I had a chance to study abroad and live in Asia for 5 years after I graduated from the University of Puget Sound. I spent most of my time in a small country off the coast of China called Taiwan. It is majority ethnically Chinese, and they practice Chinese religion there. It's very close to Japan as well, so I had a chance to travel there a bit. So a lot of my knowledge of East Asian religions, including Southeast Asian religions, I guess, Buddhism, Hinduism, Taoism, Shinto, some of that is schoolwork that I gained in my undergraduate, and some of that is from personal experience from living over there. So I try to bring that kind of real life experience into the course whenever possible. So let's introduce the religions that we're going to be looking at, the 5 major religions, the big 5. We'll be looking at about close to 10 altogether in this course. But there are 5 religions that we call the great religions, and they're the largest religions in the world. They are Hinduism, Buddhism, Judaism, Christianity, and Islam. And these are their symbols. Let's take a look at their symbols. This was the one you're probably most familiar with for many of you. This is a cross. It represents the death and resurrection of Jesus Christ, who is in many ways the founder of Christianity. Up here, this star right here, are you familiar with this one? This is the Star of David, and it is the common symbol of Judaism. It's also, not so much anymore, but it was originally referred to as the shield of Judaism. So while this symbol right here represents a moment in time in Christian history, and also the founder, most important figure in Christianity, this is the Star of David is meant to be a shield. It's a protection, which I think is a very interesting sort of symbol to have. We'll see that the Jews have had a very difficult history. They experienced many thousands of years of exile and persecution, and the symbol that they chose for themselves was that of a shield. Over here, we have a crescent moon and a star. This is the common symbol for Islam. Now, this isn't the universal symbol for Islam. Unlike Judaism and Christianity, there is no one single symbol for Islam. Muslims also sometimes use a symbol of a hand, sometimes called the hand of Fatima. Specifically, Shia Muslims use the symbol of the hand of Fatima. But many Muslims use the star and crescent to represent their religion. The reason for that is that the symbol of the moon represents the month of Ramadan, which we'll learn about, the most important festival month in the Muslim calendar, remembering the time in which the Prophet Muhammad received revelation from God in the form of the Quran, right? So similar to the cross, this symbol here represents, again, a very important moment in Muslim history, in Islamic history. Put together, these 3 religions are called the Abrahamic religions. These are the 3 Western religions. They're the Abrahamic religions because all 3 religions claim the great prophet, the great father Abraham as their major patriarch, as in a lot of ways their founder. And we'll talk about that when we get to our section on Judaism, how each of these 3 religions tells stories about Abraham and his sons, Isaac and Ishmael, and how each of these religions sees themselves as descendants from Abraham, right? So they're related, they're family members, these 3 religions. A lot of people don't realize that. And then we have these other two symbols. This right here is called the Om. This is not technically a symbol. This is a word. This is a word spelled out in the ancient Indian language Sanskrit, right? One of the oldest written languages and one of the oldest still existing religions in the world, or languages in the world, Sanskrit. And it spells out the word Om. See? Om. Om is said to be the first word spoken. It was the word that was spoken that caused all creation to come into existence. And so it's a very sacred word. It's a sacred sound. It's often used in chanting and in prayer and in singing in Hinduism. Hinduism is the oldest extant religion in the world. Extant meaning still existing. We have the oldest historical evidence of Hinduism more so than any other religion in the world. So it's a very special religion. It is native to India, as we'll see, and we'll spend a couple weeks talking about it. This is the other major Asian religion. This is Buddhism. Unfortunately, this picture is cut off. There should be another little spoke right here, but this is a wheel. It's called the Dharma wheel. The Dharma wheel represents the teachings of the Buddha. The Buddha offered teachings called the Eightfold Path. The Eightfold Path is a way of finding enlightenment, of finding peace and harmony in one's life, right? And so this wheel has 8 spokes on it, representing the Eightfold Path. The wheel itself also represents the cycle of reincarnation. Both Hinduism and Buddhism believe that when a person dies, their soul is reincarnated into a new life. It could be a human life, it could be an animal life, depending upon one's karma and one's dharma, which we'll talk about. Right? So this wheel continues to spin. The point of both Hinduism and Buddhism, as we'll see, is to stop the wheel, to break out of the cycle, and to gain union with the unseen. We'll talk more about that later. So these are the 5 major religions. We're going to spend 2 weeks talking about each of these religions. The other religions we talk about we'll spend a week or less upon, but we'll spend a solid 2 weeks on each of these. Now let's take a look at where these exist in the world. This map is a little bit dated. It is from 2003, but it's still basically correct. Here we have a pie chart of the different religions in the world, right? You can see the largest religion in the world, containing all of these little pie pieces right here, is Christianity. Right, so there are multiple forms of Christianity as represented here. There's Roman Catholicism, there's Protestantism, there's the Orthodox Christianity, and there's this little piece called Other Christianities, which includes the Coptic churches of Egypt and Somalia, the Mormon churches, the Jehovah's Witnesses, and several other groups as well. Right. And sometimes I have students who are surprised to see that the Roman Catholic Church is the largest of these groups. Roman Catholic Church comprises the population of South America and much of Europe as well. Protestants, the Protestant Church is the next largest group. I know this is 6.4%, this is slightly larger, but this is a combination of many different Christianities. Right here, the Protestants, the next largest whole group. Right, and Protestants are most common in Northern Europe and in North America, Australia as well. I want to take a moment to point something out to you. You might notice here, North America has some crazy tie-dye action going on here. Look at that, all these different colors, all these different swirls and things. If you look at Europe, right, each country is delineated by one single solid color. Many other countries as well are delineated by one single solid color. Throughout most of history, a person's religion was deeply intertwined with one's nationality or one's ethnicity, right? You worshipped the god or the gods of your people, right? You worshiped the gods or the god that your king worshipped. Right? It wasn't so much an issue of personal choice. You weren't looking for the best religion for you. Rather, your religion was an inborn part of your culture. And you can still see that in a lot of parts of the world. America is quite unique, though. We've turned religion into an issue of personal freedom and personal preference. And so you can see America and Canada are just full of all these different Christian traditions. And large European cities are that way as well. But you find for the most part, when you're in France, people tend to be Catholic. When you're in, what we have here, Norway, you tend to be Lutheran, right? The next largest religion in the world, Islam. And Islam, I believe, is the fastest growing religion in the world. Most people think of Islam as existing in the Middle East, but actually it's a much larger religion than that. It spreads all the way from the west coast of Africa all the way down into Southeast Asia. And there are large Muslim populations, many places in between. Large Muslim populations in India. There are Muslim populations in China. A lot of large Muslim populations in Europe and America now, as war and famine and other things have ripped through parts of North Africa and the Middle East, sending refugees to other parts of the world. So Islam is a very diverse religion, right? The way people practice Islam in, say, Sudan is going to be very, very different than the way it's practiced in Malaysia, very different than the way it's practiced in New York City, right? The next largest religion, Hinduism. Hinduism, unlike these other religions though, Christianity and Islam, is located in just one spot, right here in India. It's an indigenous religion in many ways. An indigenous religion is a religion that is linked to its homeland. Okay. Christianity and Islam began that way. They began each in the Middle East. Christianity began in Israel. Islam began here in Arabia, but they spread out. For the most part, Hinduism has remained within India, except for the Indian immigrants who have traveled around the world and brought their religion with them. But it's not a religion that looks to convert other people. That's the major difference. It doesn't look to convert other people. So as a third largest religion in the world, and stays pretty much here in the Indian subcontinent. Now we'll talk about Hinduism next week. Buddhism is the next largest religion in the world. For a long time, it was the second largest religion in the world. It was the major religion of most of Indonesia, most of China, most of this area here. It even held a large chunk of India for a time. But in the last 100 years, well, I should say the last 300 years, things have changed a lot in Asia. The religious environment has changed a lot. Nowadays, most Buddhists remain here in Southeast Asia, places like Thailand and Vietnam and Cambodia, still in China as well as Japan and Taiwan and some other places. Okay. And finally, the last of the major world religions is Judaism. It's the smallest. Judaism is the smallest of the big five. And it is represented on the map by this blue-green color. Take a moment to see if you can see where Jewish territory is. There it is, right there. Little tiny sliver. That's the modern. That is the modern nation-state of Israel. Okay, that is where Judaism stems from and where it has returned to. There are other major centers of Jewish populations in the world, including New York, London, France, many other places as well, but the largest population is still Israel. It is a tiny, tiny fraction here. It's 0.2% of the world's population. There are a lot of other religions that are larger than Judaism, but it's so important because it is in many ways the foundation of Christianity and Islam as well. So this gives you a sense of what the world of religion looks like outside of our tiny, tiny, where are we? Our tiny, tiny little world of Champaign, Illinois. So now we've looked at the major religions, the religions we're going to look at. Now let's take a look at some of the big questions we're going to try and ask, that we will ask and try to answer over the course of this semester. First is, what is religion? You probably have a sense of what religion is in your mind. You've experienced religion. You've seen other people do religion in different ways. Part of what I try and do in my course is to kind of shake that definition up. I hope that by the end of the semester you have a larger sense of what religion is. For example, we're going to learn about how within Buddhism is a non-theistic religion. Buddhism does not espouse a particular god. The Buddha, who is the founder of Buddhism, the Shakyamuni Buddha, is not a god. The Buddha was just a man who found enlightenment, broke the shackles of reincarnation, and taught other people to do the same thing. Hinduism, we'll see, is a polytheistic religion. It believes in many, many different gods, but there is one greater god, one greater reality that encompasses all those gods, called Brahman. There are a lot of different ways that people envision what religion means. In the East, it's more about practice. It's more about what you do and how you live your life, and less about what you believe. In the West, it's all about what you believe, and if you have the right beliefs, you don't even necessarily have to practice so much, as long as you have the right beliefs, right? A lot of different ways that people understand religion. The one thing that all religions share is this concept of the unseen. We'll talk more about this in the next lecture. The unseen is a phrase or a word used by a religious scholar named William James in the 20th century to try and describe what all of these different religions are trying to get at, whether it be Buddhism or Hinduism, Christianity, Islam, Taoism, or anything else. They all espouse this belief in some sort of unseen reality of God, of spirit, of union, of something. It's something you can't see, you can't touch it, you can't smell it, you can't hear it, but you know that it's there and is of utmost value and importance to you. That unseen reality is what binds all religions together, and this desire to commune with it, to understand it, to gain it. That is very, very broadly how I define religion. And we'll find there are many more components to it as well, though. Number 2, why do we study religion? For another question, a better question, why do you study religion? Why are you in this class? Maybe you've had experiences with religion of your own and you want to know what other people's experiences have been. Maybe you want to better understand the philosophy behind religion. Maybe you have to fulfill some sort of stupid humanities requirement in order to graduate from college, and so you're taking this course because it fits your schedule. A lot of people study religion for a lot of different reasons. I hope you have, as you go into this, you think a little bit about what you want to get out of the course, and I hope you do get a lot out of the course as well. I study religion because I find it fascinating. Religion is this interesting intersection between all other aspects of humanity. It combines philosophy with literature, with art, with science, with world history, with politics, with anything you can possibly think of religion intersects with. And that's fascinating to me. And it's fascinating to me that people around the world throughout history have always had questions about the unseen, about something being, there being something greater than themselves, and have always sought answers to those sorts of questions. All right? So that's why I study religion. Third big question is, how do we study religion? This may be the simplest to answer. There are many, many different ways to study religion. We're going to touch on all of them in this class, hopefully. There's the history of religion. You can look at religion from a psychological or a sociological point of view, right? What goes on in a society, in a community, when that community practices religion together? What happens in the individual, psychologically speaking, when they practice religion? I mentioned art. What sort of art has been inspired by religion? What sort of literature has been inspired by religion? How do people use art and literature to express complex ideas about God and philosophy? There's phenomenology. This is something that we're going to use a lot in this course. Phenomenology means trying to study from the perspective of believers. Instead of standing outside a religion and looking in and thinking, well, they're doing this and that, we're going to try and imagine ourselves in the position of members of each of these religions, and try to understand what their perspective is. In each unit, I've tried to include interviews or videos that have interviews of members of each religion talking for themselves about what they believe and what they do. And it's very important we take those things seriously, right? That's the first place you go to when you want to learn about a religion, is to members themselves and the way they understand their own religion. That's the phenomenology of it. There's hermeneutics, the study of theory. What is the theory of religion, right? What does it do? How does it function philosophically, sociologically, so on and so forth? There are a lot of different ways you can study religion. I also encourage you to think not just about why you're studying religion, but how are you going to study it? Which aspects, things not even listed here, are most interesting to you? And what are you looking to get out of this course? So now I want to talk a little bit about course structure, the way I've structured each unit each week. give you a heads up on what to expect. Basically, each week has one module, and that module is divided into 3 submodules or 3 parts. The beginning of each week, you should do the textbook reading. Before anything else, do the textbook reading. I include these videos, I include all sorts of supplementary material, but the textbook is your best source of information for each religion. So do the textbook reading, do the entire thing, do it first, and then go ahead and watch the first lecture, which is part 1. You're doing part 1 right now, right? And as you're watching the lectures, I encourage you to take notes. I include the PowerPoint slides that you're seeing right now in each submodule, so you can download them, you can print them out, you can look at them, you can do anything you want to, but the quizzes that go with each part, each submodule, cover mostly things that I say and not things that are on the PowerPoint slides, okay? So make sure you take notes, and the things that I say that might not be on the PowerPoint slides can show up in the exams as well, so make sure you do that. So after you watch the lecture, you're taking your notes. Do any additional supplemental material listed in the submodule. So after you watch the lecture, if there's other videos that you need to watch, those will appear. You watch those. If there's a reading a PDF file, you can read and do that. And then you take the quiz. Most of the quizzes are 2 questions. Sometimes they're 3 questions. They're pretty short. You should be able to get them done in under 5 minutes. Once you're done with the quiz, then you do the discussion. You read about the discussions in the syllabus, and you'll get to do one now, but remember, each question that I ask requires a 3-sentence answer. So if I ask 2 questions, you need to write at least 6 sentences. If I ask 3 questions, you need to write at least 9 sentences, right? And always make sure it is your own words. Do not ever copy and paste anything from the internet. I will give you a 0, I will not allow you to redo the assignment, and that will be it. If you ever want to pull a quote from the textbook, then please use proper quotation marks and put the page number that it came from. But for the most part, use your own words, right? This is you answering, this is you showing me that you understand in your own words. After you're done with the discussion, repeat with parts 2 and 3, lecture, supplemental material, quiz, discussion. Hopefully, the way I've set it up, each week you shouldn't have more than about 5 hours of work, right? Just depending how fast of a reader you are and how much time you take on the discussions. It should be 5 to 6 hours, right? Figure 5 to 6 hours. There is an optional checklist that I put with each module. It gives you a sense of how long each lecture and each video is, so you can kind of plan out your week. You don't have to use it, but it's there for you if you need it. So I think that's everything. Always remember, if you have questions or problems in this class, email me. If you find yourself falling behind, email me. If you don't understand an assignment, email me. If you have any problems at all, I'm here to help you, but I can't help you if you don't let me know that you need help. Okay? I'm always available through email. So welcome to the class, and I hope you enjoy it.